All right, I want to talk a little bit about throwing a changeup. First, we can go over how to throw a changeup, but also when to throw a changeup, and also what does a changeup do. Okay, so there's a couple different types of changeups. There's a straight change, and it's literally a changeup that looks like a fastball. It's just slower. It might dip a little bit, and then there's a circle change. The idea here is that not only does it slow down, but it dies out of the box. So if you're a lefty throwing a changeup to a righty, it's going to die and go out of the box. So if I think it's a fastball, this is the idea. I think it's a fastball. I swing early, and then it falls out of the strike zone. That's the idea of a straight changeup. Now, the changeup in general, the term, changing it up. So you're changing up the speed. You want something to look different than your fastball, but you want it to look like it's a fastball. So it's all about deception. I'll give you an example. A couple pitchers in the MLB, even they'll throw a fastball, and they'll have it out here in their fingers, nice and loose. But then they'll also do different things where they notch it back in their fingers just to try to change speed. So if the ball's in your fingers a little bit more, it's going to be rotating off of your fingers longer. It's going to be a little bit slower. It's almost like choking it a little bit. So when you throw a changeup, it's essentially you're having more fingers on the ball. So when you throw your fastball, you should always be pronating over the ball a little bit. The way my elbow pops up and my wrist comes over the ball, it's the same idea when you throw a changeup. It's actually one of the easier pitches to master in theory, but it's also one of the hardest pitches to master because it's a head game. I mean, a lot of times with a changeup, you have all these fingers on the ball, and you're really trying to make sure you turn it over because if you leave a changeup up, it's essentially a slow fastball. So if somebody recognizes that, it's going to get hit a long way. So yeah, more fingers on the ball is going to give you a better changeup, right? What I like to do is experiment with how far up or how far back you have it in your hand. So if you have it far out here, you're probably going to have a little more control, kind of like a fastball, because you're going to have a loose grip on it. But if you have it notched back a little bit in your fingers, you're going to be choking a little more, so it has the potential to die down. Now, the fact that every pitcher is different, we all have different body types, you just need to experiment with different grips and figure out what works best for you. So I personally like to throw my changeup like this. I put my fingers along these seams, but there's different ways. People throw straight changeups just like this. They put all 4 fingers on the ball. People throw palm balls. There's a lot of different things that they do. It's just finding the right grip for you. And a common myth with a changeup is they say throw a circle change. So a lot of kids hold the ball like this. There's nothing wrong with holding the ball like this if you can control it. But the whole idea of the circle change was to tell players to throw the circle, because that would make them pronate and turn the ball over, which would give them that action of making it die out of the zone. So if you can't control the ball like this, you could simply put your thumb right back under the ball as if it were a fastball. And then from this point on, just still imagine that you're throwing the circle and turning the ball over. If you repeat your motion just like as if you were throwing a fastball, you're going to have an effective changeup. And that's the thing there, being confident enough to throw it as if it were your fastball and repeating your motion as if it were your fastball. And that really comes from doing it all the time. So what I like to do with my players is when they're warming up as a pitcher, they throw fastball, they throw changeup. They throw fastball, they throw changeup, and it's a constant alternate because they need to get command and confidence of turning the ball over and really getting out in front with it just like their fastball. If you don't have that confidence to throw it as if it was your fastball, it's not ready yet. And the only way to be ready is to keep on doing it. So the biggest thing here, as I would say, is experiment with your grips. Don't be afraid to try weird things. Notch it back in your fingers. Get it out front. Hold it here. Hold it across the four-seam. Hold it across the horseshoe. Hold it along the horseshoe. I found after a long time that I need to notch it back and I need to hold it along the two-seam like this. I found that I didn't have good control when I held my thumb off of the ball because, without my thumb, I didn't have enough control. So I put it back under as if it were my fastball, but I just make sure that I pronate over and get out in front just like my fastball. And then you get the changeup. That's the term right there. You're changing speeds, and you add a little bit of movement to it, and it's essentially the most deceptive pitch you can throw. Because if it looks like a fastball and it's not, and it dives out of the zone, that's what we're looking for with 2 strikes. You get ahead with strikes, you get out with balls. And me personally, if I see something that looks like a fastball middle out, which is my favorite zone, and all of a sudden I swing and I completely miss, that's an effective pitch.